That everything is good. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Vaughn. Up next, we have Catherine O'Hara. Up next, Sam Rockwell. Bryce Dallas Howard. And I believe his name is Henry Cavill. Wait, is everyone's mics on? Let's just make sure.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So you guys, just to let you know, we're going to attempt to avoid spoilers because everyone filming right now will be possibly putting it online before the movie's in theaters. We don't want to ruin it for people. I'm assuming that you guys enjoyed the film.
Did you love it? All right.
You can also understand the twists and turns.
Keep our secret. It's all of us together.
I don't trust anyone. I would know.
I trust the audience.
Sure.
Find you? We can find you.
I like throwing a curveball to start a Q&A off with before getting to Argylle. So for all of you have done really, really cool stuff in your career. If someone has never seen anything you've done before, what is the first thing you'd like them watching and why? And you cannot say Argylle.
Henry, you start.
I'm gonna try and keep it somewhat in the family. It's an old colleague of Matthew's, Man from U.N.C.L.E., I think would be.
Yeah.
Mine would be Black Mirror.
Yeah.
What's the question?
If
The job that you did, what you want to be associated with?
Yeah, like,
Oh, okay, but not Argylle.
What job are you most proud of? I think is.
or it could just be something you want more people to watch.
There's a film coming out called Stuntman that is a pretty exciting film, I think.
It's gonna be amazing.
It's amazing.
Go to the future. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that idea. Yeah.
I meant from the past.
Don't rest on
Yeah.
your laurels. Rest on your future
And what from the
laurels.
past? And what from the past, Sam?
Past Snow Angels. It just pulled that out of my butt.
It's not the first time he said that.
Yeah. Hi. I got nothing. No, I guess
What do you got? I got you.
We all have.
God.
We
Waiting for Guffman. How about Beetlejuice?
Okay,
How
waiting for
about-
Guffman. Thank you, Sam.
I would probably have to say Kingsman.
Yeah.
The first time I felt like I could actually direct a film, so that was the first time I felt like I'd become a director.
Last curveball before we get to Argylle. What is, for each of you, what is the most nervous you've been before the first night of filming, and why?
Well, for me it was layer cake because I really had never even looked through a camera, and so that was my first time trying to direct a film. So that was pretty nerve-wracking. And Lock, Stock as well. That was the first time I tried to produce a film, and then I realized that none of us on the crew, director or me, had ever made a movie before, and it was the most fun I've ever had learning to make a film while making a film.
I'm going to say Waiting for Guffman again, because it was the first of 4 improvised movies that I did with Chris Guest and Eugene Levy. And the night before Waiting for Guffman, I knew all the dialogue was going to be improvised. I just didn't know how it was going to work. And Chris said, just don't, I'm just telling people, don't try to be funny. But
Wow.
then you just show up on set, everybody's got their characters, and then you feed off of each other and lift each other up. But yeah, that was scary.
Amazing.
Good scary. It's good to be scared, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to be scared, definitely. Yeah, I'd say Box of Moonlight is a movie I did with John Turturro years ago. Oh, thanks. Yes, I was pretty scary on that. I was pretty scared on that. But fear's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, it comes out of nowhere on a film. Anxiety, what have you. It's so random sometimes. You might have prepared and done your work, or not, and then it just comes out of nowhere sometimes, I find. be random?
So for me, it was very, very specific. It was that shooting the last Jurassic, we were the first movie to come back during the pandemic. And I was shop foreman, so I was the contact with SAG and responsible for the actors. And so coming back and shooting, knowing, you know, that this was very new terrain for everyone and it was very important that it worked, that was certainly the most nervous that I've ever been. And it also happened to be a scene, that was the scene where I got like the most injured. It's where I was falling out of a parachute. This happens in movies for some reason that I'm in. So it's sort of, yeah, ripped off a Band-Aid with that one.
Yeah, I mean, to everyone else's point, I think you can get nervous and scared before most scenes, really. It's good to have that feeling. It means the scene is alive inside you. But before I knew that was The Count of Monte Cristo, which is my first ever job. And I was fresh out of school and first ever professional job. And I was terrified. It was a big movie and I just didn't know what to expect and I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. And yeah, that was a pretty terrifying experience.
Well, it must have been pretty terrifying putting on the cape.
Yes, Matthew, that too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Steve?
So this is for the cast. You guys have read a lot of scripts, and I'm curious, what is it actually like reading a script like this, because it's so unique with the way it does its twists and turns, and each act is, you know what I mean, it's so different than most narrative scripts.
Almost as good as watching the movie. Really, it was that, I hate to, you know, overuse a word, but page turner, really was like, oh my God, no, what?
Jason Fuchs, is incredible writer, producer on this film, wrote Wonder Woman, knows what he's doing, and just, it was one of those kind of, like Catherine was saying, like one of those unbelievable magical reads where you're just like, what? This is so good already, and this is just meant to be a template for the film. And then it was really wonderful to get to see, you know, Matthew's partnership with Jason. Jason has said to me that it's the most inclusive experience that he's had as a writer. And I think that the end result is what it is, you know, in large part because of that partnership.
Anyone else?
Could you remind me of the question, please? I was just so floored by that.
The script, what did you think when you read it?
Well, it was one of those scripts which, you know, as you guys know, lots of twists and turns, and you can almost see it in your mind's eye until you realize Matthew's in charge. And then you realize it's going to be at least 12 times bigger than that. And so it was exciting. It's one of those things where you think this is a special moment, this is a special occasion, this is something original, some original IP. And, you know, as you guys all know, I don't necessarily do original IP that often. And it was an exciting prospect, especially when, you know, Matthew's in charge and you know you can trust him.
I'm a huge fan of Matthew Vaughn's action set pieces. Yeah, you should clap because they're fucking awesome. So, like, so I'm curious for people that were involved. Actually, everyone is involved in a little bit of action. I'm just curious, what was it like on set filming with Matthew, with action, and like, for example, the train fight or the smoke dance or oil? I mean, because they're all so different than what you've seen in other movies. Well, let's actually, with the cast, talk a little bit about what it's like, what it was said, and then Matthew, I have a follow-up.
Well, Matthew wants something really unique, and that's why he hires the best people around him. And we mentioned the great Brad Allen, who passed away. Damian Walters was his protege, and he shot a lot of second unit and directed second unit. And then we had, and Brad was a protege of Jackie Chan, so that's the lineage of that stylized violence in the film. And Matthew wants a sense of humor. I think that's what's so unique about this, the violence, the stylized violence in his films, is that it's got humor, and that's what makes it interesting.
Can you guys talk a little bit about what it's actually like to film some of these sequences?
Yeah, challenging.
Yeah, it's challenging because it's new techniques, and I've done a fair few fight scenes throughout my career, and walking into this, we knew it was going to be something different. And Matthew said, look, everything we're doing is going to be brand new, and it may or may not work. So you're just going to have to work really hard in the rehearsals and see what happens. And then we'll try and shoot that on small cameras in rehearsal. And then come the day of shooting, everything may change. It may or may not work. And we pushed and pushed and pushed, and all that rehearsal time and all the work that Matthew puts into pre-production pays off, because Sam and I, on that train scene, for example, it seemed to go fairly seamlessly. And it was only because of the hard work put in. And so that makes a big difference. You go into a scene like that, you do your bit, you do your hard work, you do your prep, and everyone else has done it as well. And it turns out to be a really fantastic scene.
And we filmed that in the first 2 weeks, which I think helped. We weren't physically exhausted, so it was. I like to start movies with a strong, hard sequence, because it gets the crew up to speed very quickly. And like the first thing we shot in Kingston was the church sequence, and it's just. I think it's as he liked improvising, there's a lot of popping the cherry, and we got through it.
Matthew, I'm so curious what you're like, because you, not only are you the director, but you're also the producer. So what is it like directing on set when something isn't working? Does the producer head ever come on and say, you know what I mean, like what's that balance for you?
I mean, it really is Jekyll and Hyde, and it's pretty intriguing that, like from Layer Cake and Stardust, the producer in me was a lot stronger than the director, and then I think I read a Billy Wilder quote that he said to an executive back in the day, no one, the audience aren't interested if you came in on budget or on schedule. It doesn't really affect you guys. So I've come a little bit looser in that sense, and so the creative side is now 70% and the producer's 30%. So yeah, I think I wanted to tell as big a story as possible, and the producer and me sort of whimpers in the background.
No, but you make the impossible possible, because you have a vision for something, and then typically, a director will, and then the producer will say, well, sorry, that's cost prohibitive, so let's dream a little smaller. And because you can problem solve your way through those obstacles, because you have that experience as a producer, and also because it's largely an independent film for quite a while. I think it's really unique what you're able to do, and you strike a really powerful balance. And what I would say in terms of just witnessing kind of Matthew just as a leader on set, and what he's doing in terms of, in particular, the style of filmmaking that is incredibly innovative. He is demanding, and he does not settle. And it takes a lot of courage to be that way, because normally we're all like, oh, are we gonna get in trouble if we go over, if we don't do it exactly how it was written? And so there's a constant discovery that worked really well, especially, I think, with you. I mean, it was really exciting to see how playful it could be, and how things could be discovered on such a giant movie. And it wasn't just like every day we have a plan, we're sticking to it, because, this is way too expensive to begin with, So it was very cool.
Matthew, this is, I don't think the audience is going to think this question's coming, but the Taylor Swift documentary actually played a part in this movie.
Yeah, well, she didn't write the book. I will say that now.
Isn't that what a spy would say?
Yeah, but I'm not a spy. In theory, so no. Yeah, my daughters watched. Is it Miss Americana? Is that the name?
I heard it, yeah.
Yes, and I was sort of glancing at it, and then I saw the cat in a cat pack, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" What happens in my life is I see things, and if it grabs my attention, it goes into we'll put that in a movie, and I'm not sure when or where. So I'm always just looking at life, and and you just see something that's inspiring or funny or powerful, and that will be in a scene sometime in the near future.
Also, what people don't realize is the cat in this film originally was being played by a professional, until one day when Matthew
Sorry. Okay. I was listening. Yeah, carry on. It's really interesting.
I was just giving it right to you.
Yeah, no, basically, after the first day of filming, we had a professional acting cat, and you know, cats and acting aren't exactly but, you know, it's not true, they don't. Although it's an anagram of acting cat, I just realized. Yeah, so I went to my daughter's bedroom and said, "Can I borrow your cat, please?" And I took the cat to work for 3 months. And it was actually at first a bit weird driving to work with the cat, looking after the cat, changing the cat's litter, being the cat handler as well as the director. But he became a very calming influence on me, and I think he's great in the movie. So I'm very proud of him. So he is a nepo kitty, but he's a good cat. He's called Chip. He can't be here. I wish he was here actually.
Henry, I have an individual question for you. You have done a lot of incredible action set pieces in your career. What do you still think of as like the hardest thing you've done? And what was it like working on this film in comparison to the other action set pieces you've done?
The hardest action set piece or sequence I've done is easily the helicopter scene in Mission Impossible. That was crazy. I mean, Tom was doing all the real work. He was flying the helicopter. I was just hanging out the back of the other one. But it was.
That sounds like Rick Henry.
I mean, it was just cold. That was the problem. And actually, on the bravery piece to begin with, because you have a little half harness on with a length of cable about that long, and initially you are terrified of sitting on the edge of an open helicopter in the mountains, but by take 2 you are leaning all the way out, full trust, and I mean it's probably not a good idea, but I'm here now, so I think it's okay. But it's amazing how you stop being scared as soon as you end up trusting the harness. In comparison to working with Matthew in these action set pieces, but as you said, they are absolutely enormous and innovative set pieces every time. And that keeps it interesting for me, because I mean, once you work with Tom Cruise, you think, how can things get better and bigger than here? And Matthew does, and he makes things different and new, working with Sam in rehearsals and trying to fall into sync with each other, and then working out where cameras are going to be, and you can't cheat in those scenes. You can't be moving the camera around to hide a punch. The cameraman can't save you. So you have to be particularly precise and moving like someone else while keeping your character individual. And so working with Matthew in this has been a new experience for me.
Bryce, I have a question for you. You are slowly emerging as someone let me just say it like this, I can't wait to watch your first feature film. And so I'm just curious, was it half?
He means as a director, just to be clear, she has done feature films.
No, you meant as a director. I'm so sorry. I didn't say director.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, she's done this before a few times.
My bad. So what I'm curious about was half the reason you took this role so you could watch Matthew on set and maybe borrow a few things.
100%.
Or know what not to do. Yeah.
No, I mean honestly, it's my dad is a filmmaker, and something that he
Great.
really
Yeah, fantastic filmmaker.
really but something that he really sort of laments is that he loved as he was a young person and acting full time, how he would get the chance to learn from directors, learn from other actors, and see just different ways in which stories are told cinematically. And so for me, I always feel, from the very beginning, I've always felt like a spy on a set. Like I pick things based on the director, and I want to infiltrate, and I want to observe and absorb as much as possible. And just, working with Matthew, it was I wanted to work with him just full stop period as an actor, but as someone who craves to learn as much as possible as a filmmaker, how he does action, his partnership with Brad Allen, the team around him, the way in which he is just absolutely dogged at creating something that is fresh and original and fun, entertaining. It's very, very, very exciting to get to be a part of that and to get to see, you know, how the sausage is made, essentially. And Matthew was, in the same way that he was incredibly inclusive with Jason Fuchs as a writer, you were very, very, very open with me and just, you know, exposing me to the process, whether or not it was a scene kind of having to do with my character, and I'm just so grateful for that. And you know, it was really awesome, Matthew, getting to learn from you.
Here's a question for the cast, actually. I am a huge fan of all 4 of your work, and I'm curious, I love talking to actors about the way that you get ready for... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we both counted.
We just, you know, Catherine and I,
Like,
we're
did someone get
playing with
left
the fairies
out?
in our heads right now.
So I am curious. So say hypothetically you have like a really big scene on a Monday morning. It's either really emotional, really dramatic. You know you need to deliver that morning. How early on are you actually preparing for a scene like that? Is it when you first get the script, you're thinking about it? Is it the week before? Like, could you maybe talk a little bit about your process when you have a scene that you're really nervous about?
If it includes Matthew Vaughn, it's probably 20 minutes before, given to learn the monologue, which is something else in your
how
lap.
about that monologue?
Yeah. Matthew, for the train scene, originally it was just Sam doing all that dialogue, and then he went, oh, yeah, you know what? Why don't you do the dialogue as well? And so there I was thinking, oh great, it's my first day on set, and I need to learn monologue in 20 minutes and perform it, and in front
match
of, in front
the
of actors who I
cadence.
haven't worked with either.
Yeah, but you had to match the cadence as well. It was a
Yeah.
very high wire act.
Yeah, so with Matthew, it's 20 minutes.
Bravo.
Yeah, and from here on out, I would now refuse to prepare until 20 minutes before.
Sam, what's your process like?
I think it's early on. I get nervous thinking about things. So hopefully, you know, the fight's won in the training camp, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, there's certain
You watch
scenes
a lot of movies.
I watch a lot of movies, and I work on with an acting coach and stuff like that. So then, hopefully, you've got the
So,
script.
what does an acting coach teach you now that you know it all?
Well,
I mean,
there are
like,
schools
what-
for acting, you know, Matthew.
Yeah, it is a craft.
You do train.
And it's
a-
never-
No, no,
It's
but
a
vocation.
You've
Why are you
trained.
so skeptical?
No, I'm
It's
not
not a
skeptical.
whim.
I'm just like, do you think I'm trying? Does anyone teach Muhammad Ali to box after he's won?
Angelo Dundee taught Muhammad Ali, yeah.
After he won?
Oh, after he won.
Yeah, he
well,
won.
he continued to train with Angelo Dundee. Anyway, it's a fair
Yeah.
point. We won't get into
Actually,
semantics.
singing lessons. I
He
think that's
needs
cool.
to. Well,
But that's cool.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
You
cool.
could just not.
No, some people don't go to school. Some people. Anyway, this is not a. The listener doesn't need to hear this conversation.
It's like being back on set, just watching them on.
This went off in such a direction I did not expect,
Yes.
not even a little. So we'll switch to something else, which is, Matthew, you got to put the last Beatles song ever in your movie. So talk a little bit about how you managed to swing that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was trying to find a song for their love song, let's call it, and I needed something with sadness but hope. And Giles Martin, who produced the song, I was with him, and he said, "Would you like to hear a new or an old new Beatles song?" I just couldn't get my head, but I thought he was winding me up, and then he played it, and we just slapped it on every scene, and it just fitted, and the lyrics, you know, now and then, and then we orchestrated it at the end. You hear the orchestra just, you know, I thought it was a beautiful piece of music at that time, and then I had the pleasure of meeting Sir Paul and the rest of the Beatles and the Beatles kids, and it was just an honor. I couldn't believe I was getting to work on the last ever Beatles track, and I had to keep it a secret for a year and a half, which is, you know, I had it on my iPhone. I wanted to play it to everyone, and I couldn't. Yeah, and I'm very lucky, very lucky.
This is a question for everyone. Obviously, the shoot must have been a blast, challenging, every word you could add to that sentence. But when you think back on the shoot, what's like the day or two that you will always remember? Whether it be because things went terribly wrong or because it was an amazing day.
I don't know. remember running around in the kitchen with Bryce, trying to get out of breath. I remember. But I just want to say, I think maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but I think what's so original about Matthew's films is that he has a mischievous bad boy, and yet he's also a hopeless romantic. I think that's what makes. Am I stating the obvious there? That's what makes his films kind of special.
Wow, thank you.
It's true.
Uh,
No, it's true.
Don't you think?
Yeah,
He's so naughty and he's so romantic.
yeah. Those two
It
things.
shows in all
but
his films.
Naughty and romance is a very, very, very good sort of Valentine's Day moment.
And a sense of humor.
Yeah. Actually, one of my memories of poor Catherine when your back went, and she was lying on the deck of the ship, and we were doing stamping and all this stuff, and I was like, Catherine, do you want to leave? She's like, no, I'm good. And you're down there for hours.
Stayed on the floor.
You
of
just
the
stayed
tent.
lying down, and I was like,
Chilly
okay.
and nice.
Didn't complain once.
No, everybody was kind of sad.
Covering you in a
Are you
blanket,
okay? Are you
going,
still okay?
Yeah,
That
was good.
I got to watch the stunt, all the stunt
Yeah.
work up close. Wow.
Literally, yeah.
The movie's beautifully edited, the fights are beautifully edited, but I'm telling you, you could watch those fights in person and believe they were killing each other.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be edited, you know, like so many movies where you go pow,
Yeah.
Sam, and you don't know, nothing connects. This is like a beautiful, beautiful choreography. Yeah.
At the end, do you guys want to share any memorable moments over the day or two you'll always remember?
I try to forget. No, I think, all joking aside, any day I was working with Sam and watching him work, and he really is an absolute genius and just beautiful to watch.
Feeling is mutual.
Grace?
And Brian is lovely to be with too.
Brian is the
so
best.
He's okay.
ridiculous. I didn't say he was good as you. No, he's good. But really,
No,
really
Brian's
funny
amazing.
too. I think everyone thinks of him now as, the Your Honor or Breaking Bad, but I don't know if you remember. What's the
Malcolm
song?
in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle,
Oh,
yeah. He's so
But
funny.
he's just really funny improviser and just crazy funny all the time off camera. Yeah.
Totally off camera.
Brilliant, brilliant. My thing I hope doesn't come off as like a spoiler, and so just really, but I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. The whirly bird. First of all, I just want to say, me doing the whirly bird with Sam does not look like what Dua Lipa doing the
No.
whirly bird Henry Cavill looks like, and it was just the most fucking absurd thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was really fun.
But you stayed in the moment, and it is the smile. And I think what makes the whirlybird work. And trust me, it was something that even when I was shooting it, I was like, "Is this going to make the final cut?" I'm not sure, but let's pretend it definitely is. And it would wind the writer up like, "No." Like we even came up with only the whirlybird catches the worm. He's like, "No, you can't say that." And I said, "Yes, we can." But I think it's the looks between Bryce and Sam in both whirlybird moments was such joy and commitment in the moment that I think you two made the whirlybird work were emotionally real.
We're gonna make a dance with
Yeah,
hoping everyone's gonna pick it up and do the world.
hopefully it's the new TikTok sensation.
So if you enjoyed the movie tonight, there's this thing called social media, and if you are on it, please spread the word without spoiling the film. Sincerely, all of you, thank you for so much for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
And a big thank you to Matthew, Catherine, Sam, Bryce, and Henry.
Thank you.
So much, everybody.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, well done.
Thank you so much, Steve. You're the best.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.